some man there seated somewhere in Nkandla then unduly benefit. If Zuma have opened his party, call it a Jacob Zuma party, Umsholozi party, Umshiniwami party, or even Gupta party for that matter, I can tell you the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal would have respected his democratic right. But because the man knows that he's not popular as he claims, he's not a celebrity or whatever popularity he has, it is as a result of the ANC and what the ANC is. He wants then to expropriate our name without compensating us.
On behalf of the three regions of the African National Congress in the province of Natal, I welcome you all to this historic conference of the African National Congress.
In 2008, former President Jacob Zuma in the Parliament of South Africa, he said that, I quote, "That's why we'll rule until Jesus comes back." In other words, he meant to say that the ANC will be in power until Jesus Christ comes back. He made this statement after there were a lot of corruption allegations which was put in his behalf and the entire ANC organizations. Today, as you all know by now, that President Jacob Zuma is no longer doing part of the ANC, not only because he was suspended from the ANC, but because he made his own choice by not voting for the ANC or campaigning for the ANC. So he chose to have another political party which was a partner to the ANC, and he had to go and choose this political party so that he can campaign for them and give them their votes. And as things are standing so far, until I'm being proven wrong, President Jacob Zuma is the one who will be representing this political party called by the name of Mkhonto MK. Just because President Jacob Zuma had made this choice to go ahead and campaign for another political party which is not the ANC, of course this has raised an open war, and we are left only with one question to ask: why do they want to destroy Jacob Zuma? Why are they afraid of Jacob Zuma? Of course, you might be saying that, no, maybe I'm referring to the ANC. Perhaps it is them. But is it only the ANC who want to see the Jacob Zuma being down? Is it only the ANC who want to destroy Jacob Zuma? Or should I say, is it the ANC who's scared of Jacob Zuma? Well, we're going to find out in this video. But we should try at least to extend our mind behind all this and try to understand, how did all this happen? How did we get to this point? How possible is it that someone like a Jacob Zuma, who have a very beautiful story in the ANC, have to leave the ANC in order for him to go and start campaigning for another political party which is not the ANC? We are talking about the man who had good history in the ANC, who was #1 defender of the ANC.
I read something in the newspaper where one comrade who has been respected for a long time saying that the alliance is dead. People are exposing themselves that they are politically bankrupt. They are now sitting at home. They are now sitting at home, lonely. They left the ANC on their own. They were not chased out. They thought it is nice out there. It's cold out there. They now are beginning to throw stones in the ANC. Criticize the party, criticize COSATU, criticize the ANC. And these comrades were part of the leadership. Some of them were Secretary General. Some of them. You can only say if the ANC is weak, they weakened it when they were the leadership of the ANC. Why now they have wisdom and everything when they're sitting out there? When they were here, we did not see that wisdom. Others are pastors. They must go and preach in the church and leave politics. If abazazi politics. We are not going to keep quiet forever. Because if we are out of the ANC, for whatever reasons, keep quiet.
Listening to the words of former President Jacob Zuma in this footage that I just play for you, you will understand that the man, he was not only an ANC member, but he was the ANC actually, because he was able to defend the ANC legacy by all means, by trying to stand against those who are trying to criticize the ANC, even though he was aware of what was going on wrong things in the ANC, but he was always been there to defend the ANC government, and he did so. So looking at it very well, you'll understand that Jacob Zuma actually is not kind of a person who can betray the ANC. Now, this left us with one question in mind. Is it the ANC that have betrayed Jacob Zuma, or is it Zuma that have betrayed the ANC?
You see what former President Zuma is doing, we never imagined that could happen, because we never thought that he would leave the ANC, some of us. We thought that he's part of the ANC and he will not fight against the ANC as he is now doing, because now he's fighting against the ANC. He wants to kill the ANC. And we are disappointed if we thought somebody would want to use it for, other ends, like it's been used by former President Zuma now. We are disappointed and shattered.
Those are people who are disappointed in Jacob Zuma because he made this move. But we need to understand very well, how did we get here? What happened for Jacob Zuma to get to this point? That is the capital question we need to understand. Because Jacob Zuma, we all know that was the president of South Africa. And all of a sudden, we woke up one day, we saw Jacob Zuma was inside the court. How did things get to that level? There is a lot to say about this. But in order for you to understand something, I want you to pay attention to this video. This was Jacob Zuma, the time he used to be a president of South Africa, and he was in the parliament, whereby he have to lecture or give a history lesson to the DA and the Africans who were seated in the parliament, who kept on trying to pull him down as the president of the Republic of South Africa by putting different corruption against him and forgetting of what they have done to the people of South Africa. President Jacob Zuma, who have to come and try to relate a small history about South Africa, how they managed to get to this so-called democracy that's been existing for all these years.
I had to give a history of this country, and the history is history. History has chapters, painful chapters, wonderful chapters. But it is history. When I said, when Jan van Riebeeck landed in the Western Cape, our problems began, is a historic fact. Now, I always avoid giving the details of the history, but it's not necessary. When he landed, there were residents here, in this very city, who were established here. The Cohen son, they were living here, and they welcomed him warmly. And he established himself, they were together. Somewhere, somehow, a tension began. And there were wars that were fought. They were removed here forcefully from their area. Removed. And some of them went deep into the country, north, south, east. And the wars began because after the population arriving in South Africa grew. It is written down, it's not me concocting it. There were 8 major wars that were fought in the Eastern Cape. I didn't write that. We are not counting other small wars. 8 major wars. There was a great track from here when there was a quarrel between the Afrikaners and the British. As a history of this country, there was an establishment of 4 republics. two belonging to the British, two belonging to the Afrikaners. When all of this was done, the blacks were not consulted, even the establishment of the republics. The clash between the Afrikaners and the British continued. There is no part of the country that there were no clashes. With the British, with the Afrikaners. Some are big and known, some are not known. The Zulus fought the British, and the major one was at Isandlwana. The Afrikaners fought the Zulus, and Ngome, what you call the Brald River. And the British, the Afrikaners discovered, as they call it, the discovery, they actually came across mineral resources. And the British heard this, and they vowed to defeat the Afrikaners. And there was an Anglo-Boer war. That's a history of this country. Very bitter war. We all participated on either side. Only now, when we are correcting history, we are calling it a South African war because we all died in that war. At the end of that war, the English-speaking and the Afrikaners met to negotiate and agreed the four republics should be combined, and took very important decisions. Where will the parliament be as part of compromises? It will be in Cape Town. Where will the administrative city, Pretoria? Where will be the judiciary? Orange Free State in Bloemfontein. And one of the decisions, when these two met, was that you will have, therefore, a union of South Africa. The government, who should be elected at all times, but the black people would not participate in that process. It was that decision, that made the black people to make a call to meet in Mangaung in Bloemfontein to discuss what we called the national calamity, that the indigenous people are not to be part of governing this country. Very bad decision on an important decision of uniting the four republics. It was that time that we said we are going to fight to liberate ourselves, to be part of government. To participate, you must know, because this country was still under British colonialism fully. There were delegations that went to England to raise the matters. We did not want to fight. We wanted to be part of the process to govern this country. This now are the activities many years after the landing of Jan van Riebeeck, who opened the way for them to be here. They started fighting here, Eastern Cape, Free State, everywhere. There were wars. And again, after many years, we said, but what type of a country do we want? Because we must be clear, if we say we want a non-racial South Africa, what are we talking about? That's why the meeting in 1955 wherein everyone in this South Africa, including government, was invited to say what type of a country do we want. And that's why the Freedom Charter is important, because that's when we molded this country we have today, a democratic, prosperous country. Important in that gathering is a preamble of the Freedom Charter. That is the basic policy of the ruling party, where we said, we the people of South Africa declare for all to know that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white.
So, after this powerful speech, or should I say, the history lesson which the former President Jacob Zuma had to give to these boers seated in the parliament, well, this have raised up the anger of the Oppenheimer and the Rupert and all these people who've been benefiting from the South Africa. They came now in their powers. They end up raising up in their numbers. They feel like, okay, they seem to be that there is someone who will be challenging our authority in this country. Someone whom, if we don't stop him right now, he will actually awaken up the whole entire generation of South Africa, whereby they will have to know what we have done as wrong things in this land. And they end up realizing that this person, if we don't stop him right now, which means the land that we are possessing today, we won't be able to have it tomorrow. Because by the time all these South African youth get to stand and understanding the true meaning of the land without compensation, then it will be too late for us. And remember, it is a taboo topic. Since a couple of years ago, they never want to talk about the land. And Jacob Zuma, he challenged them in the parliament to tell them that no, you can't just be sitting here and trying to blame me of 1, 2, 3, 4. When we all know that no, there's still some pending business which we're supposed to solve long time ago, since 1992, when Nelson Mandela came out from the prison. And you guys will never want to touch that topic. So whenever you try to talk about the land which the minority of these people have possessed in South Africa, it become like a taboo. They can even eliminate you physically, all because you are touching something that they don't want to touch. So Jacob Zuma, in this speech or history, he had to come and remind them that no, when your forefathers, your grandfathers, your fathers arrived here in this country, they found this country or this land was occupied by people. In other words, Jacob Zuma, he meant to say that there is the owners of this land, and their land was being taken by force by your forefathers. And they were even fighting over it. You had him giving the example of a British and Afrikaners who were busy fighting because they were now having like 4 countries, 4 republics within South Africa. And just because they have to come and understand that their division was not going to bring them anywhere, because they know that they were possessing a land which does not belong to them. That is how they end up sitting one place and negotiate. And when they negotiate, that is how they end up sharing, saying that the Parliament of South Africa will be located in Cape Town, and the administrative it will be located in Pretoria, and the magistrate to be located, it will be located in the Free State. So they end up sharing like that because they wanted to continue controlling a black man. And for the fact that Jacob Zuma have to do this, well, they end up making all the effort, putting all their effort together in order for them to remove Jacob Zuma in power. Since then, things were no longer easy for Jacob Zuma. There were a lot of complainings here and then because Jacob Zuma have touched to something that no one, as the president of the ANC or the president of South Africa since 1994, have done. Nelson Mandela never touched that point. whereas Thabo Mbeki never touched that point, including even the intermediate President Kgalema Mothlandi never touched that point. But for the fact that Jacob Zuma come and touch this point, well, the people went crazy. So they did all they could have done, and they were putting pressure on Jacob Zuma to resign from the office. Not by telling him officially saying that, no, we are making you resign from the office all because you touched a taboo topic by reminding us of on how we get this land in South Africa, but they came up with something else of accusing Jacob Zuma of corruption. Jacob Zuma did not also want to resign. Jacob Zuma, he said him resigning, it was like he's giving up to the oppressors system which they want to destroy each and every black person who can come and speak the truth. Jacob Zuma, he had the courage also to challenge them, saying that no, he's not going to resign.
Some chamber from outside of this country also demanding that the president must go. Some chamber, I've just forgotten from which country, but there was a chamber that said so. And some big business who said so. And I realized it's more the time I will never on my own resign. Because if I did so, I would be surrendering to the monopoly capital. Because I asked, what is it that I've done wrong? I've asked those who have talked to me, tell me, what is it that I've done wrong? And when I ask them, they run out of the answers. The only thing that has happened is that the narrative, the repeating of corruption.
Jacob Zuma refused to resign from the office because he did not want to give up, because he felt like he was going to give up on the white monopolism, and he had to refuse and resist against them. And the man believed that he did not do nothing wrong. So he kind of like understand very well what these people they were up to. He understand that the problem is not all about Kantla.
You know, some people who could not pronounce Kandla, they've now learned Nkandla, 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 hey, hey, hey. Even if you tell them the Nkandla report is being processed, is going to come. I mean, 3 investigations have been made. Nkandla, even if we are discussing very serious matters, a man stand up, point of order. Yes, Nkandla, Tix was a George Cook. Hey. That's part of the problem.
The problem is all about because he had to touch a taboo topic which these people they never want to discuss. So they were busy fighting him by all means to remove him in power, but him was busy resisting. Now, this is where Jacob Zuma or anyone who's clever is supposed to understand all this by thinking that, okay, if these people they want to put Jacob Zuma down, all because he talk about the land and how the land was shared or taken away from South Africans, which means if we give up Jacob Zuma, then these people don't have control on us, which means even if the ANC have to choose another president, that president will become like their puppet president, whereby you can do everything you want to do, but don't ever touch on this part of the land without compensation. If you touch it, you'll find yourself also out of the office as they were trying to do with Jacob Zuma. So the ANC, instead of them understanding that, they were not there. Instead, they tried to resist a little bit, but they received some pressure from inside, and they are trying to remind them already on how things are supposed to be done, or how things they were doing them all this time. So they kind of like asking the ANC to remove Jacob Zuma in power. And in order for them to remove Jacob Zuma in power, they have also to use someone else. And that is how President Cyril Ramaphosa came in the picture. Because remember, President Cyril Ramaphosa, back then, he used to be the deputy president of the ANC. So obviously, he had to receive some also proposal which were coming from in behalf of these people, telling him that, no, look, why are you trying to defend a man whom you will be repressing very soon? So help us to remove him in power, then you can come and take over. Of course, that is how the ANC, they went and put now pressure on Jacob Zuma. Do you guys still remember during that time how the ANC end up turning their backs against Jacob Zuma? And they went all the way telling Jacob Zuma that, no, look, listen, we got your back. So all we have to do here, let's protect our dignity as the ANC government, as the ruling party in South Africa. So there's no need for you to stress. You can resign from the office, leave the office. The person who's going to replace you, he will be from the ANC. Therefore, you'll be well protected. After you left here, we'll make sure that no one will touch you, no one will take you to the court and anything like that. Just because the President Jacob Zuma, who had to leave the office because he was under pressure, including from the people who are within his own organizations, Jacob Zuma was left without no choice than to resign.
I have therefore come to the decision to resign as President of the Republic with immediate effect. Even though I disagree with the decision of the leadership of my organization, I have always been a disciplined member of the ANC. As I leave, I will continue to serve the people of South Africa as well as the ANC, the organization I have served all of my life.
Now that President Jacob Zuma, he had left the office as the President of the Republic of South Africa, we slept one day and woke up in the morning. We saw President Jacob Zuma appearing inside the magistrate court with a couple of allegations which was put toward him. And these allegations were put not by the EFF members as the black people of South Africa, were not put by Kalati or Indians. No, instead it was put by Afrikaners who were representing the DA. Remember again, to the speech which the former President Jacob Zuma had given in the parliament, where he was giving the history or teaching the history to the member of the parliament who were seated there in behalf of the DA about the land and on how they arrive in and they possess the land, and then trying to remind them that, no, if this have to continue like this, then we should be talking about land without compensation, so that the land should go to the majority and not to minority. Now, these are the same people who came very harsh on him, because they've been looking for him all this time, but they never get a chance. Now that they get a chance, to put hands on Jacob Zuma. Of course, they were waiting for him to leave the office as the President of the Republic of South Africa, so that they'll come and take him. Now that Jacob Zuma appeared inside the court, we were all expecting to see on how the ANC is supposed to come in order for them to protect the Jacob Zuma, because he's one of them. But unfortunately, that was not the case. To make story short, because I don't want to go in more details about what happened in court and whatsoever, because we also how Zuma was sent in jail for 1 year and he came up, he appealed on this, and until today, Zuma is still inside the court, because Zuma, he was sacrificed. Yes. So after Zuma realized that he was sacrificed, he had to write even a letter to the current president of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, asking him to play his role as a president of the country, as number one head of the state in Zuma's matter, because according to the constitutions, President Ramaphosa has something to say to whatsoever has happened to any former president of South Africa, whether the case is inside the court or not. He can give him that humility. And unfortunately, Jacob Zuma did not receive that humility. That is how you guys end up finding Jacob Zuma taking President Cyril Ramaphosa to court And he took him to court. Why? Because he was telling the court that no, this person have his responsibility as the head of the state to protect me against certain things and give me some humility. Unfortunately, President Cyril Ramaphosa did not do that. And here, it's what we see in the cameras. But behind closed door, or if we have to analyze with you together, you'll understand that before President Jacob Zuma left the office, they had a certain kind of an agreement, which they had with, is it S. Magashule? And no, not S. Magashule, it was Paul Mashatile and President Cyril Ramaphosa, because President Cyril Ramaphosa, remember I said he used to be the deputy president when Jacob Zuma was the president of the ANC and the president of South Africa. And Paul Mashatile used to be the secretary general as Fikile Mbalula in our days. So they had a certain kind of an agreement which they had agreed that no, you can leave the office, but we're still going to make sure that everything goes well for you. But now that the man is facing the challenge inside the courts, and he look around, he could just find himself with a couple of supporters outside the court protesting and supporting him, but he could not see any of the ANC member. Instead, they went on and make a certain rule of saying that no one should, I mean, if there's any ANC member who's already being inside the court, no one should not interfere, and then they will be suspended from all the activities until they come out from that court clean. For what reasons? Of course, its own time will tell. But looking at it, obviously, it was a way that the ANC leadership had to sacrifice the president, former president Jacob Zuma. So all these things, when they sit, it's seated like that, President Jacob Zuma, he did not take it more easy. It was a very painful for him and very disappointing for him. So he kind of like feeling like, okay, I'm being abandoned. But good luck for him. He had still had that supporters among the ANC members. I'm talking about the ANC from KwaZulu-Natal, ANC from different part of our province, Free State, for example. Also, they were there supporting him. And we also how these ANC members manifest their support the moment when former president was entering in the Nazareth 55th ANC conference, and the current president of Republic of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, was busy giving his speech, and President Zuma walked in. We also what happened that day.
ubayeke aba bakusapota ubaqule kungabanqanda emsweni
ngoba ngifuna ukuthi bathule bonke. Thank you, comrades. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, comrade.
So you can see very well on how President Cyril Ramaphosa was humiliated and embarrassed in front of all the ANC members who were gathered over there. All because former President Jacob Zuma was entering the war. And you can tell already the kind of sabotage which President Jacob Zuma had to pass over there, that you try to neglect me and abandon me inside the court without interfering or without intervening in my case, and yet you want me to acknowledge your leadership. I'm gonna show you that I still have people who trust me and people who support me. That is how President Jacob Zuma ended up entering that wall on his own time. Normally, he's supposed to be seated before President Ramaphosa get to enter inside. So you can tell already that that is the time when the ANC start having serious problem. For those who've been watching us for years now, you will remember that we spoke about this and we told you that as we are going in the future, Jacob Zuma is not going to be part of the ANC. I believe maybe some of you never believe us when we said that, but we kind of like thought that this day will come soon or later, because we had analyzed for you and make you understand that the Jacob Zuma foundations with their leadership, they were all kind of being abandoned by the ANC, and at the same time they were being attacked by the ANC. So the ANC, that's the time the ANC starts separating from within themselves as members. So since then, Jacob Zuma never been activated in any political activities. He kind of like disappearing, but he was still there and kind of like observing things from far. We saw him kind of like he was not there, but until then, when he had to come and make this big announcement that changed everything around for the ANC.
Zuma announced that he would back a new party, the newly formed Umkhonto weSizwe Party. Zuma's daughter made the news public. She read out a statement from the former president.
In 2024, I will vote for the Umkhonto weSizwe MK Party.
And Zuma wants his supporters to follow his lead. He says anyone who votes for the ANC is betraying South Africa. Now, the ANC has suspended Zuma from the party. It is all unraveling just a few months before South Africa goes to polls.
Since Jacob Zuma had made this announcement that really shocked the ANC, well, the ANC as a ruling party or the political party which has been in power for so many years, they end up feeling like, no, we are not going to allow Jacob Zuma to come and destroy already what we have left of, because for your own information, things are no longer looking that good for the ANC as it used to be the time of Nelson Mandela, Thabo Mbeki, or Zuma, or even President Cyril Ramaphosa in the beginning of his first terms in the office. So things are the way as they are sitting, they kind of like looking more ugly for the ANC. I don't want to comment much about it, but we should wait and see how the election result will come and tell whether we are right or not. But according to main analysis out there, it all showing that the ANC will drop below 50% in this coming election. Some can even go far saying that there's a possibility of the ANC losing the presidency and getting the majority in the parliament, or they can lose the majority in the parliament and have the presidency. That's something to think of. Or some they say it's even possible for them to lose everything, because there is now a lot of political parties that have been created and being registered at the IEC, and these political parties, all of them, they want to be seated inside the parliament. Just because Jacob Zuma chose to vote for another political party, which is not the ANC, well, the ANC decided to suspend it.
The NEC took note of the announcement by former ANC President Jacob Zuma on 16 December 2023. He announced that he will be campaigning for another political party, and further launched a series of vitriolic attacks against the ANC and its leadership.
Having detailed the transgression, Mbalula then announced the unprecedented sanction.
during its ordinary meeting held from 26 to 29 January 2024, resolved to invoke Rule 25.60 of the ANC Constitution. I quote, "If justifiable exceptional circumstances warrant an immediate decision of temporary suspension of a member without eliciting the comment or response of such member, the NEC concluded that exceptional circumstances exist to justify and warrant an immediate decision to suspend former ANC President Jacob Zuma."
There's no regret. We took the decision as we decided that we should move in that direction, and the remission was a generalized remission. It was not specific to him. So when I took the decision, it was not specifically aimed at former President Jacob Zuma. It was a broad decision that affected many other people who needed a remission, and it was being done so that we can reduce the numbers of people in our prisons, because they are burgeoning at the seams. There are too many people in our prisons. So I don't regret that decision. And what is happening with the IEC case is what happens in politics and state governance issues, and we handle it as we move on.
So the ANC could not allow the MK to go ahead and give Zuma all the votes that Zuma needs in order for him to go back in the parliament. So the ANC now decided to first start using its power as a political party. Of course, that's what things looks like, because we're not going to listen to what is being said on the TV, because we all know how these things works. Because when you see an independent organization such as the IEC, they are taking Jacob Zuma, removing Jacob Zuma in the process of not being elected. Of course, this must say something, and that's what they did. They took Jacob Zuma to court. They removed Jacob Zuma from not being part of these elections, and Jacob Zuma have to take them to court. And when they went to court, they lost the court because Jacob Zuma, with his lawyers, they end up winning this court.
It seems like it was a very quick sitting, and you can see celebratory scenes unfolding inside the court, because what we've learned is that the application has been dismissed. That means the breaking news at this hour is that the newly founded MK party will be able to continue using their name and their logo. No surprises there that you can see there on screen, Dalimpofu SC and the rest of their team celebrating.
No, I'm over the moon. I'm happy that the ANC has been shown that they can't fight the MK. We are unstoppable. Whether they like it or not, they must just forget it. We have won with cost, which is what we've been looking for even before. It didn't happen, but this time we got it.
So after Jacob Zuma managed to win this court case, this sounds very interesting. The ANC decided to take the MK to the court. The MK, in response, they have to say this.
No, they can appeal. No matter how many times they want to appeal, but we'll still win it. Because they've got no facts. They were just trying. They were trying to disturb us for our good cause to win the elections. People want to see the MK cracked. It will never crack.
Now you might ask yourself to know what happened to all the supporters that we saw supporting Jacob Zuma in the ANC 55th Conference Center during the time when President Ramaphosa was busy giving his speech. Are them still within the ANC, or they have left with Jacob Zuma? Well, things are not looking that good, because if all these supporters they were still in the ANC, I don't think the ANC will have that courage to go and the MK to court. The problem here is now all about positioning, because the ANC, they have understand that us losing the MK or us letting go of the MK with Jacob Zuma we have lost a couple of supporters, especially at KwaZulu-Natal. So they're kind of like doing everything in their powers to make sure that they don't lose all the remaining supporters of the ANC who are in the at KwaZulu-Natal or any other part of South Africa. And you will see in this video the ANC KwaZulu-Natal spokesperson who had to come also and give this message addressing to former President Jacob Zuma.
The ANC in KwaZulu-Natal would have really have no problem with Mr. Zuma if he were to open any political party. It's his right, his constitutional right to do so. But Mr. Zuma is not doing so as a person. He wants to ride on the wave thrust of the ANC popularity and appropriate it for his benefit without compensating the ANC. That is why, for example, the old man has been saying, I remain the ANC member, I'm still part of the ANC, we want to fix the ANC, which is absolutely nonsense, to be honest.
Mr. Ndebele, I must jump in there because your critics have said, well, you disbanded the MK, and now you're the same people that are claiming it's a part of your heritage.
It's chicken psychology for those who have said that. The activities of MK as an active arm wing needed to be disbanded or needed not to continue and operate. The reason being, we were now in a democratic country. There was no government that we needed to overthrow. But does that mean it's no longer part of the history and heritage of the ANC? It does not. It remains the history and the heritage of the ANC. For example, what makes us to fight this is that it becomes impossible to celebrate the ANC achievement without mentioning the history of MK. And when you mention the history of MK, some man there seated somewhere in Nkandla then unduly benefit. If Zuma have opened his party, call it a Jacob Zuma party, Umsholozi party, Umshiniwami party, or even Gupta party for that matter, I can tell you, the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal would have respected his democratic right. But because the man knows that he's not popular as he claims, he's not a celebrity or whatever popularity he has, it is as a result of the ANC and what the ANC is. He wants then to expropriate our name without compensating us.
So guys, tell me, there are some rumors, certain people that are saying that all this blame, they have to put it on Fikile Mbalula. Now the question is, does Fikile Mbalula deserve to be blamed for all this? Because he's the current Secretary General of the ANC. Did Fikile Mbalula commit a mistake by suspending Jacob Zuma from all the ANC activities since Jacob Zuma chose to vote for another political party or to campaign for another political party? Well, whether it is the fact or not, I believe Fikile Mbalula did what he could have done. And he did it believing that it is, since it is the case which is under his leadership, of course, he knows better what he was doing. But let's hope this is not going to cause the ANC in the coming elections that will take place next month. Because if that have to happen, that if the ANC lose power, of course, Fikile Mbalula will have to pay a very high price for that, because everyone will have now to blame him for letting go many people who were, should I say, who were having a very big impact in the ANC. And these people have to go. We're talking about people such as Asma Kashule, Jacob Zuma. There are so many of them, and there's still many more. Obviously, they can be wearing ANC t-shirts, but I doubt. Now that Zuma is being part of MK, these people, they will go and vote for him. Trust me. They will go and vote for him. And what will happen next now? Obviously, Zuma is in the process of working with, in the coalition with the EFF, and the MTN and these other small parties who never want to work with the ANC or the DA. So what will happen? Only time will tell about that. But guys, the most important things that we should learn about all this, because it was very important to bring you all these details so that we can understand that the move that Jacob Zuma made out of the ANC It's not all because the ANC, they have done 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's just because the men want to find an easy way to protect himself against the open IMA and the rocket system which they had implanted on place, because they don't want anyone who can come to stand against them, anyone who have to come and remind them on how they repossess the land of South Africa. They don't want anyone who can come and stand on their way. So Jacob Zuma knows very well that since now the ANC are not able to protect him from all this, he needs to protect himself. And how can he protect himself? It's only by asking South African to vote for him so that they can take him back in the parliament, where he will be having some humility that will not that will help him to not be arrested or to not be pursued inside the court. And we have shown you everything in details. I believe you have seen for yourself and understand for yourself some of the footage which really makes sense to what we are seeing today. Now that you know everything, let us wait and see. As we are not politicians, we're just giving our point of view, we're just doing analysis, we're looking at the situations that happened in the past, in the present, and we try to figure out what can happen again tomorrow in the future. So that will be all for today, guys. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video until now. We really do appreciate your time indeed. So before you leave, make sure that you do us a favor, give us your thumbs up. We really do appreciate. Like this video in numbers so that this message can reach to more people out there, including in diaspora around the world. And also, if this is your first time to watch our video and you would like to watch more of our videos in the next time, well, it is very simple. Just make sure that you hit that subscribe button so that whenever we are here live or if you upload a video, you'll be able to join this big family of Cool Bars TV. Until I see you again, be good, be kind, have respect for everyone in order for you to be respected. May God bless you all. I'll see you again very soon. Ciao, ciao.